Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. I'm so thrilled that you're here. If you're a coach, facilitator, or transformational practitioner wondering how to craft curriculum that's not only impactful, but truly life-changing, then you're in the right place today because we're going to be looking at how I create curriculum for all of my programming. Over the years, I've had the privilege of creating many dozens of programs, retreats, circles, and workshops. And within that, I've created hundreds and hundreds of individual course sessions. My work has spanned online classes, in-person live events, ceremonial settings, corporate environments, and everything in between. I've designed everything from 90-minute workshops to 2-session courses to week-long retreats to year-long transformational journeys. And I feel proud to say that almost every single one of these programs and courses and group experiences have been a winner. They've been deeply transformative with rave reviews from participants who go on to share about the work with everyone that they know. This isn't just about creating courses. It's about creating experiences that showcase my thought leadership and then leaving lasting impressions and real change on my participants. And one thing I've learned along the way is that the way that you approach your curriculum and the way that you articulate your content and craft your program can mean the difference between blending into the sea of all those other courses out there versus standing out as truly unique and meaningful. I feel proud also that my students and my clients often call me the curriculum whisperer. And they call me the curriculum whisperer because I have a knack for helping people uncover their unique brilliance, really their thought leadership, and then helping them translate it into a unique and powerful curriculum that transforms lives. But let's be honest for a moment. Curriculum design can be daunting. Maybe you've felt overwhelmed by where to start with your curriculum. Maybe you're not sure how to organize your information. Maybe you're unsure of what to include and what not to include. You're maybe overwhelmed with all of your ideas. It's a lot of information. Maybe curriculum design has been tough for you because you are worried that your material isn't going to stand out or you'll sound like everyone else. Or maybe you just feel like your curriculum is kind of stuck in surface level content and you're not really diving deeper in it. If you can relate to any of this, here's what I want you to know. You're not alone. It is so common for course creators who are thoughtful and know that they're meant to create a curriculum design that's deep and meaningful to get stuck with curriculum. And that is because curriculum development and design isn't really something that you're born knowing how to do. Also, it's not really taught in most places. Curriculum development is a skill, and like any other skill, it needs to be learned. This is one of the many reasons why I'm so passionate about my training that's called life-changing courses. It's where I teach you how to craft your own unique curriculum and step into the role of a confident, masterful group facilitator. It's one of my favorite trainings that I offer because I get to support and then watch as the most inventive, transformational, and ultimately highly successful courses are born and developed. Today, I want to give you a sneak peek into the first part of my own curriculum development process. What I do when I go to create all my different curriculum, whether it's for a retreat, a year-long course or training, whether it's for corporate, whatever it is. And this curriculum development process is one, or the pieces that I'm going to be sharing today, they really set the foundational stage for your curriculum to be transformative, for your curriculum to go deep, and for your curriculum to go beyond just sounding like everyone else's. So I want to give you 7 key pointers that I follow every single time I design a course, a program, or a retreat. And here's the first one. I make sure to actually create the time and space for my curriculum development. Now, I know that on the one hand, this is obvious, right? We need to create time and space for our curriculum development. That being said, you'd be surprised how often course creators want desperately to create a new course or improve an existing one, and yet they don't really make the time and space needed for the curriculum development. It gets pushed to the bottom of the list, and then it never really gets done. You need to treat your curriculum work and your curriculum process as sacred. Dedicating focused time to this is essential. You want to carve out uninterrupted time that's free from distractions so that you can let your creativity flow. And curriculum development is truly a creative process. A lot of people tend to approach it as, oh, it's something that I have to do, and there's so much pressure, and it's a job. And I really want to invite you to have a different perspective on curriculum development. It is about letting your creativity flow and having fun with it. So you want to put the time on your calendar so that your curriculum has a better chance of actually getting developed. Now, if you have trouble creating the time, it might be because there's a block or a fear, sometimes a fear of not getting it right. Sometimes you're avoiding making time for your curriculum because there's a fear of not being good enough or a fear of failure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If that's the case, I want to invite you to make sure that you do your inner work on whatever that fear is. Doing that inner work is essential. And that's why in the life-changing courses training, we do spend some time on what I call the energetics of being a course creator and a transformational facilitator. The energetics are vital so that you don't block yourself from creating your course or from putting it out into the world and marketing it. The other thing that we do in life-changing courses is you get bonus weekly get it done sessions for your curriculum. So if you're the kind of person where you know you're just not gonna work on your curriculum on your own, it's just not gonna happen, you need a container for it and a held container for it that you're gonna show up for. We've got that covered for you in life-changing courses. Now, on this pointer about creating time and space, I want you to remember to also give yourself a good amount of time for your curriculum. Curriculum is rarely a once and done. It is a process, which means that it takes more than one sitting. Usually, my first sitting on my curriculum is like a brainstorm, brain dump, really messy. And then from there, right, just so that I can get it all out and different ideas can come forward. And then from there, I refine and I refine, not in the same sitting. I give myself a couple of sittings. Okay, one last piece on creating the time and space, and then we'll move on to the next pointer. We've covered the time aspect, but what about the space aspect? And in particular, your environment. As I said, curriculum development is a creative process. So I want you to think about what kind of space is ideal for your creativity, right? Is it at your desk where you always are, or is it somewhere else? For me, first draft of a curriculum is never at my desk. It is always either on the couch or in a comfortable place outside, so I can really get those creative juices going. And that brings me to our second pointer for today, another really essential component for me when I go to create curriculum. And that is that on my first draft, I start with pen and paper versus being in front of the computer. And this might seem kind of old school, but for those of you that know me, you know I am old school. There is something for me that is just really freeing about letting ideas flow without the rigidity of the computer screen in front of me. For me, doing my first draft or my brainstorming session with pen and paper allows for a more creative process and a less judgmental process in a way. So I want you to think about that for yourself, right? Do you want your first draft to be on the computer, pen and paper, etc.? All right, that brings us to our third pointer, which is another essential one for me when I go to create my curriculum, which is I remind myself to embrace curiosity and not perfection. So one of the most important mindsets that you can adopt when you're creating your curriculum, or really when you're doing anything, one of the most important mindsets is curiosity. Too often, we approach the curriculum development process with the expectation that our first draft has to be perfect or close to perfect. But here's the truth. Going for perfection in your curriculum is the fastest way to get stuck and blocked in your curriculum. When we focus on getting it perfectly right from the start, that is when we invite self-doubt and overthinking and that fear of failure. Instead of letting the ideas flow, being in the creativity, when we are stuck in that myth of perfection with curriculum, we scrutinize every concept or idea before it even has a chance to breathe. And then it makes the whole curriculum creation process feel heavy and daunting. So I really want you to remember that curriculum development isn't about nailing it on the first try. It's about exploration. It's about being inside of a process. I promise you, every transformative program or course that you admire went through drafts and iterations and revisions. The magic happens through the process as ideas evolve and connections deepen, right? You make those connections over time, and then the deepest content starts to take shape. So we want to embrace the curiosity. That also helps the process become more playful too, instead of it being high pressure where you're just stiff. Okay, so now we're on to pointer 4, and this is where all of that was prep, but really important prep and foundation where we looked so far. And here, the fourth key on how I create curriculum is where I actually start writing things down, and start thinking and feeling into my curriculum. And the very first thing that I write down is about starting my curriculum with the end in mind. Okay, so here's really where the magic begins. I write at the top of the page, by the time my students or participants are complete with this program or this retreat, what results will they have achieved? So we want to start with the end. Some other questions I ask. So I ask, what results do I want my students to have achieved by the end of the program? I also ask myself up front with the end in mind, how do I want my students to feel by the end of the course or the retreat? What beliefs do I want them to hold about themselves, about the world, about the topic of the course? I also ask, what knowledge, skills, or tools do I want to make sure my students walk away with by the time they're complete? And then I give myself the time and space to get into detail in answering those questions, right? Without that myth of perfection, I write things down, I might cross them out, I might add things later, but I get into the details of it. The idea here is to be clear upfront on the end results, the inner and outer end results of the program or course or circle, whatever it is, so that all the curriculum that I create is effective in leading my students to the promised results. I start the curriculum by getting clear on the end results so that I stay on course as I develop my curriculum. And so that I don't end up including things that don't need to be included, so that I'm focused on developing curriculum points that have the absolute best chance of activating my marketing promises for the course or the workshop. So I'll give you an example of this, since we've been talking today also about my life-changing courses training. When I started the curriculum for that training, I started with the end results of the program in mind. It's a 10-week program, and here are some of the end results of that program. By the time you are done with the 10 weeks, you have a high quality curriculum that's not only effective, but that contains your unique ideas and methods. By the end of those 10 weeks, I got clear that the students, you're going to know how to craft transformational exercises for your curriculum and exercises that include learning that go beyond just the cognitive mind. By the end of the 10 weeks of the program, you have a completed curriculum that you feel confident in. And you also feel confident in who you are as a transformational leader and facilitator, because through those 10 weeks, you've been mastering advanced facilitation techniques. And you've also been doing your deeper inner work on your confidence and on your good enoughness. The other end result of life-changing courses is that by the end of the program, you're ready to market your course. And you also understand the most effective and ethical components to marketing group programs. So that's an example. And hopefully, as you can see from my example, by starting at the end, by being really clear about the desired outcomes of the course, it will help me craft a curriculum that is more aligned and more impactful. As you'll see as I continue with some other pointers today, you'll also see that being really clear on the end result helps you determine how long a course needs to be, or how many sessions need to be included in the course, or what kinds of components need to be included in the course. When I say components, I mean training calls versus get it done calls versus Q&A time, versus discussion, etc. A lot of times people come to me and say, how long should my course be? Or, what kinds of things should I include? Well, it has to do with what results you're wanting to create. Getting clear on that. Okay, the very next thing I do when I am crafting a curriculum after getting clear on the end and the results is I rewind completely and I identify the starting point. I identify the starting point. So equally important to knowing where your students are going to end by the time your course ends is knowing where your participants are when they begin your course. What struggles or questions or fears are your students initially bringing to the table? What beliefs are they initially bringing to the table? What foundational knowledge or skills or achievements do your students already have? What are they aware of when they start? What are they unaware of when they start? Such important questions in order to craft an effective and unique, by the way, curriculum. When you get clear on the details of where your students are starting on their journey, when they step into your course or retreat, it then gives you so much information and so much insight on what needs to be included in your curriculum, as well as what doesn't need to be included in your curriculum. So again, to give you an example, going back to my life-changing courses training, here is where participants generally are when they first step into those 10 weeks. They have a deep desire to create incredible experiences and results in their group programs, but they don't quite know exactly how to do that. They maybe have not had the best results in the past with their group programs. When when a student starts life-changing courses, they often already know that they are smart. They have a lot of wisdom to share, but they're just not sure of how to create the most powerful curriculum and programming possible. When people start life-changing courses, they generally desire to be able to more fully access their ideas, their thought leadership, and to get to the depth and the layers and the details behind the ideas and the thought leaderships. For some people who step into life-changing courses, when they begin, they have so many ideas, but they just don't know which ones are important, which ones aren't as important, how to organize all of it. Also, when people start life-changing courses, they know that they want to make their exercises inside of their courses much more powerful. So those are just some of the beginning places. I should also add, because this is an important component that I identified when I was creating the curriculum for life-changing courses. When my students start, they understand and they know that going deep is really important. And also that going deep while doing it safely and being trauma informed is important, but they're not quite sure how to accomplish those things. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a great example of what I mean by get clear on where your people are when they start their course. And then that leads us to key point number 6 for today. Again, I always do this with my curriculum next. Once I've got the end point and once I've got the start point, then the next step is to map out the journey in between, right? So this is the part of the curriculum creation process where now you have all the information that you need to chart the path that is going to take your students from where they are now to where you want them to be by the end of your course or program or retreat. And this is really based on the prep work you've done with the bookends, right? This is where your thought leadership really comes in because now you're poised to really identify that unique method for getting your ideal clients to where they want to go in your course. As you map out the steps, first draft, don't do it in order. Don't feel like you have to figure out the steps in the order of the program. Just brainstorm, be in that creative process, have a good time with it, get a little out of the box with it as well. And that brings us to the last key that I want to mention today with all of it, which is slow it down. So this is one of the most important pieces of wisdom that I can share about course creation. It's one that I really hope you'll pay attention to. The magic in any curriculum is in the details. It's not in the general ideas. It is in the details. In the details is where you are going to find your greatest thought leadership, your most unique ideas. And a big mistake that a lot of curriculum creators make is that they stay general and they go quick. They skip from step A to step D to step J. And what makes an experience, a curriculum, a process more effective for your participants is to slow it down, get to the details, and go from step A to B to C to D without skipping. Okay. I hope that these 7 pointers have sparked some ideas and excitement for your next program or course. As a quick review, pointer 1 was create the time and space. Pointer 2, maybe start with pen and paper. Pointer 3, embrace curiosity, not perfection. Pointer 4, start with the end in mind. Number 5, next, identify the starting point of the journey. Pointer 6, map out the steps. And then last but not least, slow it down. So this podcast episode today was truly just a toe dip, a skimming of the surface of all that I teach around curriculum development in the life-changing courses training. In life-changing courses, we get to the details. We slow it down a lot from what we've looked at today, and you really get to all of the details and the flourishes of creating truly a life-changing program, one where you're going deep, one where you're really excavating your biggest, most important ideas, one where you are crafting transformational exercises that go with your curriculum. In life-changing courses, we also go deep into how to be a transformational facilitator, how to navigate, for example, resistance in a group or people that might take the group sabotage, how to lead Q&A time, how to lead discussions, how to set up exercises in the right ways, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is an early bird rate on life-changing courses right now, just for a few more days. And if this is what we've been looking for, I highly recommend stepping in now. It is the best rate that you'll get. And I should also mention that in life-changing courses, you get me kind of at your disposal for your curriculum. I will read every single word of your curriculum and give you feedback. And I will give you feedback more than once in the different iterations as we go through the process. So I'll drop the link for life-changing courses in the show notes. And of course, we are always here to have a conversation. If you're interested, just let us know. We'll hop on the phone, we'll hop on the Zoom, we'll get your questions answered. If you enjoyed today's episode, please let me know by giving us a 5-star review. And also, if you have any friends that are course creators or course creators to be, please spread the love and pass this episode along to them. Until next time, I will see you soon.